Hello story lovers, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're rediving into a classic tale of horror and mystery that will make you question what's lurking just beyond your sight. We're exploring The Damned Thing by the master of the macabre, Ambrose Bierce. First published way back in 1893, this isn't your typical ghost story. It's a chilling account of an invisible creature, a predator that hunts and kills, completely unseen. Get ready, because what you can't see can definitely hurt you. The story opens with a scene of grim finality. We're in a rustic cabin where a group of men has gathered for a coroner's inquest. A body lies on a table covered by a sheet. The deceased is Hugh Morgan, a local man known for his solitary life as a writer and hunter. The men present are a local farmer, a juryman, a coroner, and a young man from the city named William Harker. Harker is visibly shaken, and it's clear he was a witness to Morgan's death. The atmosphere is thick with tension and unanswered questions. The coroner, a practical and somewhat skeptical man, is trying to piece together the events that led to this tragedy. The inquest begins, and the first testimony comes from the farmer who discovered Morgan's body. He describes finding Morgan in a field, terribly mauled, his clothes torn, and his body broken. There were no tracks, no signs of a struggle with another person, and no evidence of any known animal attack. The farmer's account only deepens the mystery. How could a man be so brutally killed in an open field with no trace of the attacker? The jury murmurs, their faces a mixture of confusion and fear. It's clear that this is no ordinary case. The coroner presses for details, but the farmer has none to give. He simply found the body and raised the alarm. Next, William Harker is called to testify. He was Morgan's only friend and, as it turns out, the sole witness to his death. Harker begins his story, his voice trembling. He recounts how he was out hunting with Morgan that fateful day. They were walking through a field of wild oats when Morgan suddenly stopped dead in his tracks. His face went pale with terror, and he stared intently at something in the distance, something Harker couldn't see. Morgan raised his rifle, his hands shaking, aiming at what appeared to be empty space. Harker was baffled, thinking his friend had suddenly gone mad. He called out to Morgan, asking what was wrong, but Morgan didn't seem to hear him. Harker describes a strange phenomenon. He saw the tall stalks of wild oats being violently thrashed and trampled down, as if a large, heavy animal were charging through them. Yet, there was nothing there. A path of destruction was being carved through the field, heading straight for them, but the cause was completely invisible. Morgan fired his rifle into the advancing disturbance, but it had no effect. The unseen force continued its relentless charge. The sound of the trampled grain grew louder, a terrifying rustle of impending doom. Harker, paralyzed by a mixture of disbelief and fear, could only watch. Then the climax of the tragedy unfolds. The invisible force reached Hugh Morgan. Harker describes seeing his friend lifted from the ground and thrown about with incredible violence, as if in the clutches of a giant, unseen beast. Morgan screamed in agony as his body was twisted and broken. Harker, finally snapping out of his stupor, fired his own rifle blindly into the chaos, but it was useless. The brutal assault lasted only a moment. Then, as suddenly as it began, it was over. The rustling in the oats ceased. Hugh Morgan's lifeless body fell to the ground, a mangled wreck. Harker, horrified by what he had just witnessed, ran for help. As you can imagine, Harker's testimony is met with complete disbelief. The coroner and the jury look at him as if he's lost his mind, an invisible monster, a creature that kills without being seen. It sounds like something out of a Penny Dreadful novel, not a factual account for a legal inquest. The coroner dismisses his story as the product of shock and an overactive imagination. He suggests that Harker, distraught by his friend's sudden death perhaps, from a wild animal or a sudden fit, has invented this fantastical tale to cope with the trauma. The jury agrees, and they record the cause of death as killed by a mountain lion, despite the complete lack of evidence for such a conclusion. Case closed? Or is it? The inquest is over, and the official story is set, but Harker knows what he saw. Alone in the cabin, after the others have left, he finds a diary belonging to his deceased friend, Hugh Morgan. He opens it, hoping to find some answers, some validation for the unbelievable event he witnessed. The diary is filled with Morgan's observations about nature, philosophy, and his solitary life. But as Harker reads the final entries, his blood runs cold. Morgan had been studying something for weeks, something he couldn't see but knew was there. He had been documenting its presence, trying to understand it. In his last entry, written just hours before his death, Morgan lays out his terrifying theory. He writes that our senses are limited. We can only perceive a small fraction of the world around us. Just as there are sounds we cannot hear and smells we cannot detect, Morgan believed there are colors and forms of matter that are invisible to the human eye. He writes, there are colors that we cannot see, and to see them is to be receptive to a whole new range of sensations. He theorized that there are living creatures whose entire physical makeup exists on a spectrum of color that is invisible to us. They live and hunt and exist all around us, unseen. Morgan believed he had finally found a way to perceive one of these creatures. He had been tracking it, studying its movements through the disturbances it created in its environment, much like the path it carved through the oat field. He called it, simply, the damned thing. The final chilling line of the diary reads, "It is dangerous. Today, I am going to make the final test eye." We'll try to see it. Morgan went out that day, not just to hunt, but to confront the invisible horror he had been studying. And tragically, he succeeded. He saw the damned thing, and it killed him for it. William Harker closes the diary, the terrible truth now undeniable. The official verdict is a lie, a comfortable fiction to mask a reality too terrifying for the world to accept. So, what do we make of this story? Ambrose Bierce leaves us with a profound sense of cosmic dread. The true horror of the damned thing isn't just the monster itself, but the idea it represents. Our own ignorance. It suggests that humanity is not the apex of creation, but a species blind to the true nature of the universe. We live in a world teeming with forces and entities that we cannot perceive, some of which may be hostile. The story is a powerful reminder that the universe is far stranger and more dangerous than our limited senses can comprehend. The most terrifying monsters aren't the ones we can see. They're the ones we can't. What do you think? Could there be creatures living in a spectrum of light invisible to our eyes? It's a chilling thought that taps into our deepest fears of the unknown. Let me know your theories in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think about Bierce's classic tale. If you enjoyed this journey into the unseen world of horror, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more deep dives into classic literature. Thanks for watching, and remember to look closely. You never know what might be looking back. See you next time.